are safe right now. You have walls, you have a lock on the door, you have heat, light, and a roof between you and the sky. And your body does not believe any of it. Somewhere underneath the awareness that you are fine, there is a system running constantly in the background. Scanning, measuring, calculating threat. It was never turned off. It cannot be turned off. Because it was not built for the world you live in. It was built for a world that ended roughly 10,000 years ago. And it has no way of knowing that world is gone.
In 1992, a psychologist named Öhman at the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm ran a series of experiments on fear. He showed people sequences of images, flowers, mushrooms, snakes, spiders, and measured how quickly their brains registered each one. The result was not what he expected. Images of snakes and spiders triggered a fear response measurably faster than flowers or mushrooms. Not in people with phobias, in everyone. And when he made the images so brief that participants couldn't consciously register what they had seen, images flashed for just 30 milliseconds below the threshold of conscious perception, the fear response still fired. The brain was reacting to something it hadn't consciously seen. He ran the experiment again with guns and knives, objects that are genuinely dangerous in the modern world, objects that kill far more people today than snakes or spiders do. The accelerated response did not appear. The brain was not reacting to danger in general. It was reacting to specific shapes, specific patterns, shapes that were dangerous to a creature living in the African savanna hundreds of thousands of years ago. Not to you, to your ancestors.
Evolutionary biologists call this preparedness. The idea is that evolution does not leave a blank slate. It preloads certain threat responses into the nervous system because the cost of being wrong is asymmetric. If you are walking through tall grass and you see a curved shape and you assume it is a snake and it is actually a bent branch, you lose a few seconds and some energy. If you assume it is a bent branch and it is a snake, you die. Evolution is not interested in accuracy. It is interested in survival. And the organism that over-responds to potential threats survives longer than the organism that evaluates carefully. So the bias was built in. Not learned, not cultural. Built into the architecture of the nervous system before you were born. This is what scientists mean when they talk about mismatch theory. Your body is running software written for an environment that no longer exists. The hardware has barely changed in 100,000 years. The environment changed completely in the last 10,000. And in the last 200, it changed faster than any evolutionary process could track. The result is a nervous system that is exquisitely adapted for a world you will never live in.
But the snake response is only the beginning, because the threat your ancestors feared most was not the snake. It was each other. For most of human evolutionary history, survival was not an individual project. You did not make it alone. You needed the group for food, for shelter, for protection against predators and competing groups. Being cast out of that group was not a social inconvenience. It was a death sentence. So your brain evolved something far more sensitive than a snake detector. It evolved a social threat detection system that runs at the same level of urgency as physical danger. In 2003, researcher Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA ran an experiment using fMRI brain scanning. Participants played a simple computer game, a virtual ball-tossing game with two other players. At a certain point in the game, the other player stopped passing the ball to the participant and played only with each other. The participants were being excluded from a ball-tossing game with strangers they had never met, whose faces they couldn't see, in a situation with no real-world consequences. Their brains showed activation in the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex. This is the same region that activates during physical pain. Being left out of a game registered in the same neural architecture as being hurt. The brain does not distinguish cleanly between social rejection and physical threat. It was never designed to. In the environment where this system was built, they were the same thing.
This is why a slightly cold email from your manager can ruin an entire day. Your rational brain knows the email is probably nothing. Your threat detection system reads slightly off tone as possible exclusion from the group and assigns it the same urgency as physical danger. Your cortisol rises, your attention narrows, your mind starts scanning for more evidence of threat. You read the email again and again. This is not anxiety as a disorder. This is the system working exactly as it was designed to work. The problem is not that the system is broken. The problem is that it is running in an environment it was never designed for. Every notification, every unanswered message, every social interaction that ends ambiguously feeds into a system calibrated for life or death social stakes. A system that has no way of knowing that the stakes are not what they used to be.
In 2006, anthropologist Joseph Henrich published research on what he called cultural learning and the evolution of human cognition. His argument was specific. Humans are not more intelligent than other primates in the way we usually think. What we are is extraordinarily good at one thing: copying and transmitting information across generations. The nervous system you are running was not just shaped by your individual ancestors' experiences. It was shaped by millions of years of accumulated information about what was dangerous, encoded not in books or language, but in the architecture of the brain itself. The fear of heights, the unease in darkness, the discomfort of being watched. None of these needed to be taught to you. They were already there when you arrived.
This raises a question that the research cannot fully answer. If the threats are gone, if the snakes are behind glass and the social exile is survivable and the darkness is navigable, what do you do with a system that cannot be switched off? The research is clear that the system does not simply deactivate when the threat environment changes. It reassigns. Snakes become driving in heavy traffic. Social exile becomes professional failure. Darkness becomes uncertainty about the future. The threats are different. The physiological response is identical. Your body does not know the difference between a predator in the grass and a presentation to 50 people. It knows that something matters. It knows that something is at stake, and it prepares you for it with everything it has.
What the science cannot settle is whether this is a problem to be solved or a feature to be understood. Every framework that has tried to eliminate the stress response has run into the same finding. The system is not separable from the parts of you that function well. The same architecture that generates anxiety generates focus, urgency, and the capacity to care deeply about outcomes. You cannot remove the ghost without removing something else along with it. The unease you feel in quiet rooms at 3 a.m, the way a certain kind of silence feels like it means something, the sense arriving without reason that you need to pay attention right now. These are not malfunctions. They are signals from a system that kept your ancestors alive long enough for you to exist. Whether they are useful to you in the world you actually live in is a question the genome cannot answer. That one is yours.